Okay, we're going to start with your original color, a tiny bit of black, some white, a couple of brush sizes, a little bit of water, and some paper towel. We're going to start by thinking only values and shapes, and that is it. You need to stay with me. You need to stay with me in exactly the same spot without moving behind. So we're going to start in box 1. So this is box 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So starting in box 1, we're going to work with the background working forward. So if you look in the background of this square, we can tell that it's mostly white. So I'm going to take white and I'm going to paint the entire square. You need to stay with me. No pausing, no stopping. It's okay if you go over the pencil lines. Now that I've got a base there, I can actually move some values around with it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my original color and work with maybe some of the middle values. So see, there's like some middle values in here. So I'm going to apply that here, wipe my brush, let that blend. We know that this needs to be white. I'm actually going to take my finger and move that a little bit. Let's grab a little bit of white and get that to stay white. Then you're noticing that it's pure white down here at the bottom. Let's keep your brush strokes going the same way. Let's grab the pure white and let's make a line here. I'm going to grab a smaller brush. I'm going to put some green, tiny bit of black to make a shade. And then what we're going to do is we are going to apply that texture over the top. Grab a little bit more paint. Notice my brush strokes going here. It's really thick over here. Leaving the streaks. I'm going to take this brush, it's flat, I'm going to wipe the white off. And I'm going to take a little bit of this green and the black, and I'm going to do these strokes through. I'm actually going to grab that color again and put this here. Wipe my brush and I'm going to let it blend a little bit. Let's grab some of that original color. Sometimes if the brushes aren't doing what I want, I use my fingers. Grabbed a little bit of white and added that there. I'm going to add some pure white again, and we're going to throw in some of these little highlights in here. Grabbing that black and green again. Throwing these these pieces. This actually comes down a little bit more. I'm going to pull this down a little bit more. Grab some white. It's okay for it to look blobby. We're trying to get the texture in there. Grab my other brush. All right, we're done. Moving on. Next box is box number 2. Again, I'm going to grab my white. Let's fill it in. Create a base. Because I'm looking at that value that's behind everything, and I feel like it's really light. Again, looking at values. Okay, next step. Let's grab the black and the green again. Okay, we know that this is box 2, so I'm assuming that this shape is going to be connected. So let's throw that in here. Let's fill that in. And then I'm going to use the green. And then I'm assuming that this is going to connect and come down to the end of that corner. You're sticking with me. Kind of take your brush. You can sometimes wipe your brush off and glide that back over, and that'll kind of smooth it so the values match. I'm going to grab a tiny bit of black on the edge of that. This is still wet. I'm going to pull a little bit of black here. Okay, and then let's grab some pure white and let's throw the white in here. I'm not mixing the white with the value. I'm just plugging in those white spots back in. We're noticing that there's white up here, so let's take this and let's work with the negative space, and let's pull that back in so it looks like there's dark wispies in between, like we have up there. And then I'm going to grab that black again and make the shade, and then we're going to go back and clean that up and throw that in there. Doesn't have to be perfect, just has to be close, especially when you're working with textures. And I see some lines down here we're going to throw in. Oh, we got to grab these too, so let's pull these in. Your brush has to do with a lot. I'm not really happy with that, so it's kind of thick. So since it's got a little too thick, I'm going to wipe my brush off, grab some green, and come back and fill it. Okay, and we are done with that. Moving on. This is going to be step 9. So this goes like this. We're going to actually skip a box here, and we're going to come down to this section. And we can kind of see all of this texture. So we're kind of looking at these values matching. So I'm going to go with a white again, but it's not a pure white like what we've got going on. So we're going to throw some white down. And then I'm going to grab a little bit of green. Again, it's okay if it goes over your pencil lines. We want it to. We want to cover that. Those are just guidelines for us. So we're noticing that this little mark of white is about here. So I'm going to grab some white paint and put that in. This is what I'm doing. And then you're noticing that dark value again. So let me wash my brush out. So then you can grab your black and your green again and make kind of a middle value. Lay that right against it. Pull that dark value in there. You actually have a value that goes in between here too, so we're going to throw that in there and kind of we'll go a little corner here. How are we going to get this texture? We're going to kind of lightly dab your dark value through there. I'm going to rinse my brush, dry it, and see if I can mix this a little bit. Let's throw some white in there. Wipe your brush off. You can kind of get that to move together if your brush is clean. I'm going to take plain green. It's getting a little dark. I'm actually going to wipe some of that off with my finger. And that kind of actually kind of works pretty nicely. You get that texture there. I'm going to throw a little bit of white and green together and kind of bring that back over the top. Sometimes you can do that if your paint's dry, which I just kind of wiped it off, so it's got a little drier then. So I can kind of see the values and the textures I've just made that way. There's a little bit of some dark marks up here, so let's try to see if we can get those in there. A little bit of black, a little bit of green. Don't know if it'll work, but we're going to try to throw that in there. Okay, and we are done with that spot. Moving on. This is going to be box 7. And box 7 goes just like this. Okay, you can see there's a ton of white, so we're going to throw that together. So you can imagine we're going to put white down first. And within the white, I'm going to actually throw a little bit of green with it, because you guys can see that there's a little bit of value change right here. So I grabbed a little bit of green while it was wet. I'm wiping my brush off. Okay, let's grab pure white again, and we're going to make, if you look to see where this little white section sits, it's right there on that corner. So let's bring it here and wipe that little corner. Now I know I'm going into that other box, but that's okay. We're going to end up painting that anyway. So it's okay if you're going to move paint into a spot where you're not ready for it yet. You're going to, by the time you get there, it's going to dry anyways. So I feel like it's a little bit big. So when we go around here, we'll end up working with that. Okay, let's grab a little bit of green and let's kind of move some green in there. Grab some white since I got a little too much. Okay, now let's make that shade again. So green, a little bit of black. This emerald green I'm using, when I mix black with it, it's got this gray tint to it, so I'm not doing that on purpose. That's just how the paint actually mixes. Alright, let's drag this across the top. Let's throw these. My brush actually is making some nice lines, so I'm just going to go with it. Really thick here. Sometimes you can roll your brush. Okay, we need to move it a little quicker here, so I'm going to grab a little bit of green. Get that to move and blend with each other here. Go a little darker here. Grab some white. And let's come back in here and try to separate these little stringy things. I'm going to add a touch of green to that because it's a little too... Sometimes adding a little water to your paint helps you glide a little bit better. I really need a tinier brush. I need to get these little pieces down here. Let's see if I can get this to sit on top. Alright, I'm going to try to get a little bit of a different value of green to come back in here a little bit in the negative space. So I'm working with negative and positive right now. So now I'm on the negative. I'm trying to get a highlight back in here. There we go. There's one up here too. I'm not trying to cover my mistake. I'm trying to get in between those marks. Okay. Let's see if I can pull that little shape out a little further. I'm just going to drag this piece out. It kind of comes more into the middle. And grab some white. Actually, I'm going to use the flat brush and see if I can get it to, trying to get these highlights back in here. So sometimes you can use your flat brush. Alrighty, moving on. Okay, next one is easy. This is going to be number 11, and all it is pure white, the tiny bit of transition at the top. So let's paint that white. There's a little bit of transition at the top, so let's grab a tiny bit of green and just get that box above it just to melt into. Okay. That's it for that one. Moving on. Let's go to box number 3. So box 3, again, let's paint it white because I'm doing that background value first. Yes, I'm painting over what was already there, not a big deal. Just like we did the one underneath, we'll transition it. So in this itty bitty corner, you're noticing that this shape actually extends. So let's go ahead and do that first. Let's grab Let's grab a little bit of that black with your green. And let's get that in there, but we do want it to transition, so since we're connecting those boxes, let's grab a little bit of green then. Let's see if we can't get those to move together. Okay, box is white. Let's grab this brush and let's make our shade of green, and so this comes over here. Let's brush those together. Wait, back up. We gotta get that value of green under there. That's what we did over here. So let's pull a little bit of green and let's get a value underneath first. Okay, I'm gonna rush you because we only have like 10 minutes left. Okay, let's transition this green to pairing this and get the okay. All right, let's pull some white if you need to. You're just trying to get the boxes, the background to transition first. There we go. Okay, now let's grab that shade and throw that. That looks like that connects. This is connected over here. Here's your brush strokes you're applying with that shade. I'm going to grab a smaller brush and add these in. Okay. I'll fix that. Okay. All right, moving on. Let's pull a little bit of white in between, and the only reason why I'm doing that is because we've got this. I see a little bit of white up in here. That's a little brighter. There's a little bit of water on my brush that's kind of helping with the transition. Plus that there's pure white over here, so I want to make sure that these streaks are working. You can use the back of your brush too sometimes. Okay, over there because that's dry. Okay, all right, moving on. Next box is going to be number 4. And it goes like this. Okay, we're moving and moving and moving. Paint it white. This will be nice because this box was just wet, so you can kind of pull your values in already. Cover that pencil line. Let's grab a little bit of your green and kind of, I'm not pressing very hard, just lightly move some of that paint with you so it doesn't, you can kind of see there's a little bit of green in here anyway. Oops. I can move it because the paint's still wet, so I can make some moves. Alright, this is really dark, so let's grab your shade again We're going to drag that about halfway. Got a weird texture to it, so put it on and leave it alone. Try not to mix it too much because we can see those differences in there. And that's it. Let's dry your brush. And let's soften the edges here. I'm going to take my other brush. I'm going to kind of scrape off a little bit so I can get that movement going. It's kind of a downward movement here. Okay, and then this side is actually a little softer too, so your paint should still be wet. You should be able to lightly pull those values down a little bit. And I'm going to make that a little darker. I feel that value is pretty dark. Oh, come on. Okay. Moving on. Box 8 goes like this. So you're going to be moving that with it. Let's move quick. Let's get that painted. Let's get it painted white. Same thing. You're going to notice that that ends about right here. So let's grab your dark shade. And I got a lot of paint on my brush, so this should be working out just fine. Drag that through. I'm going to wipe my brush off quite a bit because it's pretty light on that side, so I want to be able to leave that kind of a white, or at least a tint area over there. Okay, and then you're also noticing that it's soft edge again. Let's tiny bit of green, because I don't want to turn that gray. I just want to you can use your fingers, but don't use it so much that you're going to pull your paint off. There's a difference. Alright, I'm going to try to get a little bit more white here, see if I can cover up that number 8. Then I'm going to grab a tiny bit of green and a tiny bit of white. And for me, I'm going to try to see if I can get these two boxes to mesh a little bit. There you go. Now it doesn't look so much like a box. Alright, moving on. Box number 12. Same thing, we're going to drag that through. So let's move quick. Okay, grab your shade, and this goes through here. Drag it down, grab some green. This is going to go fast, kids. We gotta pick it up a little bit. Wiping my brush off so I don't have as much paint, I can move it. Okay, let's move that here so we get a transition. Alright, done. Moving on. Move on, move on. Okay, let's do box 10, which is right here. So we got to get these two to connect. If you know what your subject is, you keep your mouth closed. Paint it white because we got a lot of white. We also want to make sure it transitions into that box here. Why don't you grab a little bit of green and let's swoop some green this way while your paint is wet. Okay, let's try to mesh these two so all of these little pieces actually come together. So I'm going to wipe my brush off. Grab my shade that I made. Make a little more here. And then let's take this across because that's where this is. Doesn't come in that far. So kind of scumble a little bit across, okay? Grab a little bit of green. Green and white. Kind of brush that in here and kind of soften that a little bit. Get it to match up. I'm not really pushing my brush down hard at all. Okay, now let's see if we can match this little white line with the previous. So that comes through here. See, we're here. Let's grab a little bit of green and let's do this piece with a little bit of a shade to match because you're doing this little corner right here. Right there. There we go. Let's make this a little smaller. I see a little piece here, drag that, because we're looking here. Put some other pieces here. Okay, now we're going to do some of those streaks, which is literally grabbing your tiny brush, grab that shade you made, and to help glide you might need a little tiny bit of water. So that goes here, here, here. There's one here. Looks like I got a couple here. Okay, that's it. Moving on. Okay, you're really going to know what it is with this. So let's move, move, move. I have 5 minutes to get you to get this part done. All right. Do not look at this as the subject. Look at the box and what you're painting. So let's put the white in, just in this spot here. This is box 5, obviously. So we're up here in the box. I'm putting this white in. You can tell it's got a little bit of green in it. I'm going to grab a little bit of this value, put that here. We'll let that blend. I'm going to go ahead and cover the let's grab this and let's add white at the top. Okay, let's come down here and let's grab your green. What I'm doing is this little spot here, so we're going to need a shade in there. Just looking at your value changes, that is it. Do not look at your subject, just your value changes. Okay, this is coming here. It actually gets a little darker at the top. I'm doing this. Part of the box. Okay. We gotta go here, so let's grab a shade. And let's put that here. Oop, that's a little, that goes there. Wipe my brush off, because we're gonna do the same thing we did over here, and we're gonna, my brush is dry. I just want that to show up. So I'm going to grab some white, and let's dab some white over the top. And move that. We're making that little texture here. Okay. Now, can kind of blend that in a little bit. Not much, because we want that edge to be there. Alright, let's take our tiny brush with some values. I'm sorry, your shade. Fix that up a little bit. Okay, let's go through here and let's add these shapes through here. Got water on it. Okay. Kind of draw with your brush a little bit. Be really fluid with it. I'm actually going to grab some green and white, and I'm going to throw some green and white underneath here. Let's let that be. Okay, now go back to your shade, and let's put that there on top. Add the textures that you see. So I'm going to fix my mistake, because I'm going to pull this up here, and then I'm going to grab my shade and work here. So I'm going to pull these marks I made underneath. As part of it, so all these should match up. Okay, then let's put the pupil in. I'm going to go pure black. Let that sit there for a second, because then you're going to go to your next box. Alrighty. You're going to grab white. Put your white down. Now is where you're going to get your stuff to match up. However, you're not going to paint what you know. You're going to watch your values here. So we put the white down, so let's put our values in the box. So we're right here. That goes underneath. Remember, paint one's underneath first. Okay, now we have this value on. Let's pull your shade. And let's start down here with your ring. So I'm putting this ring in right here. See how I'm being okay with all the values I'm making? I'm going to grab the green, pull that up. It's pretty dark up here. Okay. Then we're going to, let's finish the circle out. Gonna wait for the highlight just for a second. Let's let that dry. Then what we're gonna do is come back over here and grab your shade. And we're gonna finish off these pieces with making it look connected. This is really dark. Let's go ahead and darken this. Grab your green, blend, okay, pull your value in. Down here, let's grab a little bit of plain green and throw that in here with your strokes going this way. And then I want a little bit of white on top of that, so the white sits here. So you're trying to get that clean, crisp edge. The white's underneath. We'll connect those in a second. Grab your shade. You're going to have a little bit of a mark for your shade right across here. Drag a line of your shade. Now you can come back and you can actually finish off these shapes and make them connect to each other. Okay, last thing we're going to do is we are going to make some highlights. So grab your white and I want you to put a couple marks here, here. You're going to lay your brush down and let it sit on top. And then I want another highlight over here. Shoot, my brush is wet. We're going to go here. And then we're going to make some separation here too. Okay. Let's move this green. And you are done. Do not fix anything. That's it.